The drama in Formula One never stops. The streets of Baku witnessed a sensational sprint race that left fans on the edge of their seats. But it wasn't the winner, Sergio Perez, who made the headlines. It was the fiery fallout between its Red Bull teammate Max Verstappen and Mercedes driver George Russell. Stay tuned as we delve into the nail-biting details of the clash between these two drivers and find out whether Verstappen was justified in his actions. Let's get started. Tensions were high as the Azerbaijan Grand Prix sprint race kicked off with a bang. From the very start, Max Verstappen found himself embroiled in a heated battle with Mercedes driver George Russell. Russell had a spectacular start and quickly made his way up the grid. However, in his quest for glory, Russell made contact with Verstappen's Red Bull on the first corner, sending the Dutch driver slightly off course. This was followed by a harder collision at turn 2, which sent Verstappen sideways and resulted in a hole in the side pod of his car. There was yet another close call at turn 3 before Russell was finally able to overtake Verstappen and take the lead. Verstappen was left fuming and he vented his frustration over the radio. After the race, upon seeing the damage caused to his car by the incident with Russell, Max sought out the young British driver in the park firm to express his anger. The TV cameras did not capture the very start of the exchange, but Russell was heard telling Verstappen, "It's not purposeful, mate. I got no grip. I'm just locking up." To which Verstappen made a dismissive noise and retorted, "Mate, we all have no grip. We all need to leave a little bit of space." Russell replied, I know, then added, "Well, watch the onboard." That prompted a "yeah, sure" from Verstappen, who then yelled, "But expect next time the same, you know?" At the departing Russell, then muttered D-head under his breath before moving on to congratulate race-winning teammate Sergio Perez. In his interview immediately afterward, Verstappen was strongly critical of Russell's driving and attitude. He said, "I just don't understand why you need to take so much risk on lap 1. He understeered into my side pod and created a hole. We all have cold tires. It's easy to lock up." He has this beautiful way of explaining, mate, you know, I locked up. Look at the onboards." It doesn't make sense, but it's fine. We still got into P3 and got some good points. Asked in the press conference if he felt he had left Russell adequate room, Verstappen made reference to past collisions between Mercedes and Red Bull drivers, such as his and Lewis Hamilton's clashes during their 2021 title fight. He replied, "I think I did leave space. We definitely got around the corner without him hitting the inside barrier. So I think I did leave enough space, but apparently it's hard to not hit a Red Bull car, I guess, for them." Russell felt he had nothing to apologise for and was bemused by Verstappen's stance. Russell stated, "I was down the inside. As a driver, you know the risks when you're on the outside. I'm here to fight, I'm here to win. I'm not here to hold back just because he's leading the championship." Max Verstappen's actions after the race have drawn criticism from several F1 fans and analysts, including former F1 driver Damon Hill. Hill accused Verstappen of being salty and a sore loser after calling for the sprint race to be scrapped following the collision with Russell. The 62-year-old pundit took the side of Russell in the debate, saying it was a racing incident and he was within his rights to make an aggressive move. Hill said, "I think the real issue is that Max was beaten by his teammate and championship rival Sergio Perez, who has closed the gap to 13 points now." Hill did later add some context to Verstappen's spiky behaviour by highlighting the huge pressure the drivers are under. He said, "I'm absolutely sure that Max is a perfectly polite and decent human being. But when you get heated in a competitive situation, it takes an awful lot of self-control not to let these things spill out." We've seen it before with Esteban Ocon, when he took issue with him after a race, having words and giving him a little bit of a shove to let him know how he felt about what they'd been doing out on the track. He's fiery, it's fair to say, when he's just out of the car. Verstappen was visibly furious after the race, and it's not hard to understand why. The incident resulted in damage to his car and lost points. However, upon closer examination, Verstappen's action was a culmination of several factors. Firstly, as Damon Hill said, it's perfectly understandable for any driver to feel frustrated when a race doesn't go their way. Verstappen's outburst on the radio and subsequent interviews were a reflection of that. Furthermore, the incident itself was a 50-50 situation, which often resulted in the aggrieved driver feeling hard done by. If the roles were reversed, Verstappen would likely argue that he did nothing wrong. To make matters worse, Verstappen had to race with a damaged car for the remainder of the event, which nullified any chance he had of passing Charles Leclerc's Ferrari or challenging his Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez for the win. Verstappen ultimately lost valuable points due to the incident. In addition to all of this, Verstappen clearly dislikes the added jeopardy that comes with the sprint format, as it can inspire a nothing-to-lose mentality in other drivers. Finally, Verstappen may also recognise that he made a misjudgment, which only fuels his frustration and anger. It's completely understandable that Verstappen reacted the way he did. Neither driver involved in the incident did anything terribly wrong. It was just a case of one driver being overly aggressive on the inside and the other taking too much of a chance on the outside in a risky position. Verstappen didn't need to leave himself that vulnerable. Trying to hold on around the outside of any of the first 3 corners at this track, and many others, really is asking for trouble. At the very least, it's asking for a lot of cooperation from the car on the inside. In this case, Russell wasn't willing to cooperate with Max. Russell didn't get turn 2 completely right. He missed the apex slightly and the front slid a little wide, and that is a key factor in why they made contact. So Verstappen's right to be annoyed. Any driver would be pissed off in his situation there. At the same time, Verstappen had more margin to give. Russell's not obliged to back out of it or not take a risk as long as he avoids steaming in completely out of control, which he did. Sometimes an aggressive move does mean the other driver has to yield, and Verstappen should know all too well. He was lucky to come out of it with only a reasonable amount of damage. It could have been worse if he had ended up slapping the wall hard. It was an incident that he probably should have seen coming given Russell's position in the race. And for Verstappen to be taking issue with Russell's abrasive approach to wheel-to-wheel racing is, in Will Buxton's opinion, a case of the pot calling the kettle black. Buxton said, "It's a bit rich, isn't it? Max Verstappen saying a driver is taking some unnecessary risks. Max has made a career out of putting in gutsy moves, getting his elbows out, getting down and dirty, running wheel-to-wheel with people." So where Buxton feels the frustration comes from is that while Verstappen is more than happy taking the fight to other drivers in that manner, he is not willing to be on the receiving end. Buxton stated, he has fought drivers hard his entire career, but he doesn't like being raced hard himself, particularly not when he's fighting for a championship. I think that really showed today. Contrary to Buxton's comments, it has become apparent in recent times that Max Verstappen isn't always an aggressive driver, and he has shown more refinement in battle than he is often given credit for. This trend started in 2020, was a key feature of certain drives in his 2022 campaign, and was also evident in his races in Saudi Arabia and Australia this year. Here is what Sainz had to say about the on-track incident that happened between Max and Russell. "I just think it's super tricky to judge these cars. Dirty air, lap 1, zero grip on the tyres. There's always going to be contact like this. I had my problems in Australia with it. It was George and Max's turn here. We're fighting hard, we're trying the best we can to keep the car under control. But it's just when you are so at the limit with these cars, it's very difficult to judge." Now over to you. What's your thought about Verstappen's actions after the Baku sprint race? Who do you think was responsible for the collision? Should the stewards have issued a penalty? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. That will be all for today's video. Thanks for staying tuned. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you can always get to watch more videos like this. See you in the next video.